Hey guys, I'm Chris.
Hey everybody, I'm Robert.
And we're the Film Flamers.
And we are here at the first part of the month, like we always do, per tradition, to shoot the flames.
That's right. So we're going to be discussing your comments, your questions, and giving you all of the news and trailers that you've been so hungry for.
That's right.
We're just giving the people what they want.
Every single month, goddammit. And per tradition also, you know, right around the time we get to the Halloween season, the spooky seasons, seemingly we have far less news and trailers. But hey, the ones that we do have are doozies, y'all.
Oh, God, it was like 2 months ago. I was looking at our Shooting the Flames doc, and it had like 10 trailers or something like that.
Right, it was a lot.
Crazy. We're a lot less now.
That's right, because everything is coming out now. So, but before we do any of that, can we talk about some of Sabrina Carpenter's music videos?
Yeah, so when I saw this, when you added it to the doc, I was like, what, who? I know I had heard some Sabrina Carpenter and, you know, this new kind of pop phenomenon that's coming out of the people born in 1998, 99, and 2000.
Yeah.
And what's the other one? Chapel Rowan.
Oh, Chapel Rowan. I love Chapel Rowan. But okay, obviously you know that I have the musical taste of like
they were both born
a twin
in
girl. Were they really?
Yeah.
That makes me feel really fucking old.
Yeah. Anyway, so I looked it up and I'd already heard some music, but I hadn't watched any music videos. So yeah, Taste featuring Jenna Ortega is like giving me real Death Becomes Her vibes, and it's just chock full of them killing each other, and I love it.
Yes, it is like so full of horror movie references. It's crazy to me. Okay, I like Sabrina Carpenter. I have for quite some time, right? But that's just the music that I listen to on the regular. I'm a Tay-Tay fan. I'm a Chapel Roan fan, whatever. And I don't really watch a lot of music videos, you know? I had heard your husband talk about some of these music videos, and I made a mental note to go watch them. But her new album came out last week, and they were like, the new music video featuring Jenna Ortega. I'm like, all right, let me just watch it. And my mouth was fucking agape.
Yeah.
With all the violence and horror movie, like, fan service that was going on in it. And I was like, this is fucking everything.
That's also not anything new for Sabrina Carpenter. So I went back and looked, and like, Please, Please, Please actually features her boyfriend, Barry Cogan.
I think they broke up, though. No.
What?
I think they just broke up.
I think sad. Like I thought she just started dating him after dating someone else that was in movies. I don't know. She's been in movies. She's an actress too.
Yeah.
But that kind of was giving me like Bonnie and Clyde vibes, and ends with him like all tied up and kind of like duct tape over the mouth. And then there's another one called Feather that was filled with a lot of bloody murder. So
I love that video because like all these boys are chasing after her, and she's thinking about like being light as a feather now that she doesn't have like a man in her life. And they have guys like ogling her and getting hit by a bus because they're not paying attention, and guys like killing each other, trying to fight for her and shit like that. Like, I have a newfound respect for Sabrina Carpenter aside from her music now, because she is not afraid to make a music video where she is covered in fucking blood, you know? Oop. And I kind of feel like deep down, she's a horror fan. She's one of us. She has to
obviously.
be.
And then of course she cast, you know, Sabrina, or she cast Jenna Ortega, who's now in horror circles for sure.
Oh, she's a bona fide scream queen at this point, you know? I love that video because you're right. It's very Death Becomes Her because there's a moment where you can see right through her body, right?
There's a couple. They're in evening gowns with holes through their body and trying to kill each other with shotguns and shit like that. So yes.
And then at the end, they're sauntering away, laughing from a funeral together and shit. I was just like, all right, like, I love it when an artist, and I don't know if it's her or the director or whatever, can like reference these kinds of things that I already like. You know what I mean? And I guess that makes me just easy to please. But
for her, born in 1999, I mean, it's that old movie.
Yeah, Jesus, I know. But I don't. Please, Please, Please has been my summer jam this year. Like, I just fucking love it. Like, there's a line in that song that says, like, if you want to go and be stupid, don't do it in front of me. If you don't want to cry to my music, then don't make me hate you. Shit like that. I was like, it's fucking poetry. I love it. So I feel like we had to talk about that at some point. This is the only kind of episode where we can fit this kind of conversation in, really.
Yeah.
So, Sabrina, go make more of this stuff, please.
Well, speaking of reviews or reviewing awesome things, we got some reviews on our podcast.
That's right. These came from sort of comments on Instagram, and Vicky CJ said, I recently found your podcast and it's been keeping me company through my stroller walks. And I've been telling everyone I can about it. I love it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicky.
Stroller walks. That's cool. Mm-hmm. I guess you're over the, I don't know. I guess they may not be over the, may or may not be over the whole like motherhood, afraid of horror thing.
Yeah. New parent, no horror.
Yeah. It's the hormones.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, and maybe she's getting her horror
vicariously through our podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weekend Megas said, I listened to your RoboCop episode on my first day to work this year. You guys are so good. Your podcast is literally my horror movie watch list.
Love that.
I love it too. Because if you go through our podcast and all our deep dives, it's an excellent watch list. God damn it.
I would think so. I mean, we chose them for a reason because we have excellent taste.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
If I do say so myself and yourself.
If you do say so for both. We do have a lot of comments on some of our episodes, both recent and from the past. And our first one comes from our Outtakes 11 episode that we gave you guys at the end of August in celebration for our anniversary. And also thanks everyone for saying happy anniversary. But Matthew over on Patreon said, the annual Outtakes episode is the best birthday gift I get every year.
Well, happy birthday. And I think we said that on Patreon as well.
You could be the person who likes them the best, Matthew. I guess aside from us.
Or the only person that likes them at all.
Yeah, we won't think that, really.
From our deep dive into The Grudge, Ryan over on Patreon said, thank you for another great episode. I am currently on a plane on my way to Tokyo, writing you this message from high up in the sky. Thank you for helping me burn another hour on this 9.5-hour flight. Lol.
How fortuitous that you're listening to The Grudge while heading to Tokyo.
Yes, and later on, Ryan made a find in Tokyo, in the streets of Tokyo, and he shared it with us. So we will get to that later. Also, Ryan, I'm going to go to Tokyo this month. Mm-hmm. So I don't know.
Are you going to that house?
No, I'm not going to do that. Someone lives there.
Yeah. We got a comment from William Skinner over on Patreon. He said, this episode made me think of some of the other great Japanese horror that I don't feel get enough mention and be worth deep dives. First, there was a great 1968 ghost revenge movie by Kanado Shindu called Kuroneko, or Black Cat. The Grudge may have been inspired by this movie. 96% on Rotten Tomatoes and 7.7 on IMDb. A story of a mother and daughter that are raped and murdered by samurai. Well, that sounds heavy. Their ghosts come back and hunt down and kill samurai. It is streaming on Criterion Channel. Second is the great 2000 flick Battle Royale. Yes. 90% on Rotten Tomatoes and 7.5 on IMDb, which seems to closely resemble the Hunger Games that came out 12 years later. Battle Royale is much better, in my humble opinion. It's streaming on Prime. Lastly, the third I recommend is a completely entertaining and completely bonkers 1977 Japanese film, House. I also love that movie. 91% on Rotten Tomatoes and 7.3 on IMDb. The storyline isn't nearly as important as the absolute fun you will have watching this LSD-laced fever dream. Every scene is a wonder of creativity and camp. Some highlights include a floating head that bites a girl on the butt, a piano that eats people, and a creepy aunt that eats people. A lot of eating people. It is entertaining as hell. It's streaming on Max or Criterion Channel. I've seen two of these movies. I think Battle Royale is really, really good.
Yeah, I remember that was banned in the States
for a while.
Couldn't see it. So, and I enjoyed it.
I thought it was good.
I was thinking it was going to be way more shocking than it was.
Whenever things are banned, you're always expecting something that is going to like ruin your life after watching it. And sometimes it's just not the case.
I feel like Battle Royale might have come out kind of Columbine-ish.
Yeah.
And that was just like instant banned.
Yeah, because we have teens killing teens.
Yeah.
Not a good time for that. Not a good time for that ever, I guess. But it's an entertaining movie. And I also feel that House is super, super entertaining and completely just batshit.
I have to see that. Matt saw it and wants me to see it. Also, I have a Criterion channel now, so we can watch things.
Good. Good things.
I added it to our spreadsheet.
I know. I just have yet to log in.
Mm-hmm. Skylar over on Facebook said, episode was fantastic. Been 15 years since I watched this. I swear I always go watch movies after listening to your guys' podcast. And that's the point, really.
That's right.
And I'm glad to get to know later on, he let us know that we got his name right.
Oh, thank God. Because I think I
think a lot of people say Shyler.
Shyler, but it's Skyler.
Shyler LaBeouf. I think we made that joke too last time.
Now that song's gonna be stuck in my head. Ghost Blood over on Spotify said, "Love you two so much. I've been listening for years. Hugs from Australia."
Heart.
Crikey.
I love getting comments over on Spotify, so I try and add them because I can only like kind of view them once per month, really. So it's like Josiel over on Spotify said, on bonus episode for our Ju-On bonus episode, she said, y'all might also be interested in the movie The Eye by the Pang brothers from 2006, I believe. It's very tense, and I found it to be scary. It does have an American remake with Jessica Alba, which is awful. Yes, that's the one I saw.
That movie is not good.
I'd rather watch the Jennifer, whatever her name is, one with dark water in the laundry instead. Shit.
Jennifer Connelly?
Jennifer Connelly.
Called Dark Water, I believe.
Dark Water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. From our Shooting the Flames episode in August, William Skinner on Patreon said, I left 2 messages on the hotline and I don't think you ever received them. I'm thinking there may be something wrong with the service.
Right. And I think that may be one of the messages, or if not the first message we got that gave us an inkling that something was indeed wrong.
Yes.
So the voicemails were fine, but we never got notifications for them because our email was shut down for part of or August or late July, something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And so now I have a bevy of voicemails in this episode because of that little glitch. So yes, we have a extended voicemail from you, and you'll hear it later in this episode.
Fear not, William.
Thank you for letting us know.
Yes.
Jillian over on Patreon said, different topic. Expected I might hear about Deer Camp 86 on the episode or one of the threads. Very tough to find horror I can watch with my husband. He's not anti-horror, but not really into it. This fairly ridiculous but entertaining movie worked well as a compromise, like scraps of Predator and Hot Tub Time Machine and a patchwork with some misplaced themes. Anyone else? Any thoughts?
I don't even think I know what this is.
I don't either.
Well, now I'm going to go look it up, Jillian.
Mm-hmm.
Because I like Predator.
I like Hot Tub Time Machine.
Well, I think then between the 2 of those movies, we should enjoy it and watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Nikki over on Patreon said, I have a guffawed 3 times 20 minutes into this episode. And if I remember correctly, the joke in Us was that the key for their rental was in a fake rock. And the dad said that was something white people do. That is something that white people do.
It is something that white people do.
Nothing to feel bad about. Just a humorous observation.
Yeah.
Because I could not remember the joke that you were talking about. And when I read this, I was like, yes, that did happen in that
I wonder
movie.
if I was trying to be sarcastic about it or like fake hurt or something. I don't know.
I can't
It's
remember.
an earlier episode. Because I'm in on the joke, you know what I mean? So I don't know.
I mean, would you do that though? Would you put a fake key in it?
I used to.
A rock and a fake key?
Your ex-husband gave me a rock. I never used it.
Yeah, I know. I know. I left it.
Never used it. But, you know.
Glazed Donut over on Patreon said, okay, I don't have a problem with Glenn Powell as an actor. I take more issue with him showing up everywhere all of a sudden. His PR team is working overtime and earning their pay. Hollywood seems desperate for a cis, hetero, masculine American action star, and right now he's checking off all those boxes. I don't begrudge him his success, but I do want to see what kind of career he's going to have if he's starting out with remakes and sequels to already existing popular films. Also, is it just me, or does he not remind anyone of the grown-up version of Scott Farkas from A Christmas Story?
Can you feel it? Speaking of which, that guy, I think, is actually in Freddy vs. Jason. That was just recorded. He was in the bathtub with the older brother.
He plays the brother who killed himself.
And you're right. He does look like him now that you mentioned it.
I read that and I was just like, no. And then I Googled I Googled Glenn Powell to just see a picture. And I was just like, the fuck he does. He really kind of does.
Yeah.
It's just like the shape of his face. You're right, Glazed Donut. I don't know. I don't have an opinion on Glenn Powell as an actor. I just think that he's kind of hot. That's all.
Meh. JM Kenny 77 on her Instagram said, quote, I cannot believe that you mentioned Tori Amos. I am one of Tori's biggest fans ever. I think my tattoos prove it. I'm a new fan of the pod, but now I am a super fan.
JM Kenny 77. I fucking love Tori Amos. She is just in my life's blood. I also have a Tori Amos lyric tattoo. So I'm with you. Okay. Maybe Chris and I will start a Tori Amos podcast at some point. You want to start a Glenn Powell podcast instead?
I'm not addicted to nicotine patches, and I feel like you guys can slide into each other's Insta DMs about this.
Do it. Send a DM, and we will have a whole conversation on Tori Amos because I live for that shit. Okay. Skylar, over on Spotify this time, said, love listening to your guys' podcast today as always. You did pronounce my name correctly the first time, and that's very rare, LOL. Thank you for mentioning me in today's podcast also. I have been really curious to know your thoughts and opinions on Alien Romulus coming to theaters this Thursday, which I do have tickets for. I thought I would drop a few other movies that I would love to hear you guys do a deep dive on. Late Night with the Devil, Last Voyage of the Demeter, and Trap. Sweet dreams.
Neither of us have seen Trap, and may wait for streaming now that we see the reviews and some of our patrons' feedback on it. And then Voyage of the Demeter, I did not like.
Yeah.
Because that's like the scariest and most interesting part of the whole book to me, and I feel like they fucked it up. But a lot of people loved it, so this is super subjective. I came in like an angry fanboy of Bram Stoker's book. So that might just be me, and Robert actually might love it. And I know I'm in the minority here. Also, Late Night with the Devil, we saw a whole year before everyone else at the Overlook Film Festival, and it's super weird coming and seeing it be on everyone's list for the next year after that when it didn't even breach our top 10 for the year previous. So we liked it. We certainly liked it. But it didn't quite make it in our top 10, and I don't think. Maybe it did. Do you remember?
I feel like it was in the top 10 for a very long time throughout the year. And then as we started to watch more things that came out, it sort of like made its way out of the top 10. Maybe if we had like added it to our list from the year that it was released instead of the year that we saw it, it might have been different, in comparison. But we did like the movie very, very much when we saw it at the Overlook. So I don't think that it's unheard of for us to go and do a deep dive or something like that. I think there's a lot to talk about in that movie. And if you go back and listen to our year-end episode for 2023, you will hear some thoughts on it because we did mention it a couple times.
Right. So yeah, anytime that we have an Overlook movie, you can also, I think, search Film Flamers and quotes, and then in other quotes, you can put like Late Night with the Devil. And I always try and put the show notes, the movies that we talk about. So Google should be able to tell you, if not our website. Probably Google's better.
Yeah.
But as far as a quick hot take on Alien Romulus, we'll get to that in a moment because we have some discussions to discuss about some other movies as well. But before we get there, Andrew Iverson said, quote, the new music at the end is not horny enough. Unsubscribing eventually. And I just thought that was hilarious. That was also on Spotify.
Was that a joke though? I mean, like,
unsubscribing eventually.
The new music at the end is not horny enough. Well, Andrew, can you please find us hornier music? I listen to Tori Amos, obviously, and that's the opposite of horny. So
it depends on if you watch her and her microphone.
Oh yeah, the way she plays the piano is super horny though. You're right. I don't know. From our Flamers Flashback bonus episode on Dante's Peak, Bennett over on Patreon said, that coffee-loving seismologist you mentioned is played by Grant Heslov. He was in a number of other big 90s movies like Congo, True Lies, and The Birdcage.
Yep.
But he is most famous for being George Clooney's longtime writing and producing partner.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I really want to talk about Congo. I know we keep like talking about it together off mic.
Gorilla.
Amy. I can't say it without using the sign language. I'm just flopping my hand around. Amy.
Or Tim Curry going, the whole fucking movie. We have to talk about that fucking movie.
We're going to. I mean, it was a summer blockbuster.
It's also a good Jerry Goldsmith score.
Amy.
Bad gorilla. Bad gorilla. Oh, fuck. Nikki over on Patreon said, I had never seen this movie, so glad I did, but I would have enjoyed the ID4 or Titanic discussion more. The effects were good, but movie science always bugs me, and I know I'll get lots of flack for this, but I need to go back and rewatch both Deep Impact and Armageddon. I remember preferring Armageddon, but it might have tugged on my daddy-daughter heartstrings. And that's true. A lot of people have that. On the original poll, for the disaster movie, Nikki also said, okay, I'm watching Volcano, and this movie's science is special. And the racial subplot, oof, but it was 90s. I keep waiting for Tommy Lee Jones to give the line from The Fugitive. Every gas station, residence, warehouse, farmhouse, in-house, outhouse, and doghouse. It's 1 a.m. on the weeknight, and I might stay up to watch 2012 to cleanse my palate. Chiwetel Ejiofor is good for the soul. Yes, he is.
I really want to watch 2012. Like, it just jumped up to the very top of my fucking watch list.
I need to show it to you, especially on my new screen.
I'm just waiting to watch it with you specifically.
It's eye candy for sure.
I'm so glad that you put that quote in there from The Fugitive, because it was recently on TV. And I don't know where the fuck I was where the TV was playing, but The Fugitive was on with commercials, and people kept saying, turn it off. And I was like, do not turn it off until that quote. Damn it. I just want to see that quote. It's this fucking Oscar clip. Come on.
Well, I liked it when he says, I don't care. He said, I don't, like he's saying, I didn't do it. He's like, I know, and I don't care. When they're in that fucking tunnel. And I think it was, they were tired, and it was like, anyway, we should probably do that, because it was off the cuff. It wasn't scripted.
I love The Fugitive. I think it's a great movie, actually.
And The Client. We need to see The Client, too.
We need to do a whole Grisham month, because honestly, I want to talk about The Firm.
The Pelican Brief.
Gives a shit about no pelicans.
Chiwetel Ejiofor is one of my favorite actors, and I feel like he was wasted in the MCU. I would have loved to see him segue into the Black Panther role.
Yeah.
Damn it. Well, but maybe they can rekajigger the MCU and make it happen. I don't know.
You should write them an email.
Fucking wasted. Anyway.
From our deep dive into Twister, Rosie Red Leader over on Patreon said, as a 5.5-year-old terrified of storms, the trailers for this movie scared me so bad. I thought the storms were alive and purposefully trying to kill people. My husband finally made me watch it last year. I was on the edge the whole time, but realized, oh, it's just weather being weather. LOL. Just the whole point of the movie, though, right, is to make you scared of it, because it seems purposely trying to kill people and harm them.
Yeah, it was purposely slashery.
Yeah, and that's what makes it a really good horror movie.
Unlike the sequel, which the twisters were all incidental.
Yeah, it was just like watching twisters in a zoo. You know, caged and not harmful.
From our Flamers flashback episode into Sliver.
Woohoo.
Wow. Bennett over on Patreon said, you're right, that the last line is the most quotable. Get a life. But my other favorite is when, and that was a quote, I wasn't telling Bennett to get a life. But my other favorite is when Billy Baldwin explains, quote, I've always wanted to jump inside a volcano. For some reason, that always cracks me up.
Because they're talking, I mean, that whole volcano line comes like post-coitus, I think, if I remember correctly. And I'm like, why are people even talking about this? This movie is just about fucking, and that's what it needs to be about. Get a life. Billy Baldwin. Take Sharon's advice. From our deep dive on student bodies, like first year stuff, Glazed Donut.
Like we need to watch Student Bodies again.
Oh my God, it's so funny. Glazed Donut over on Patreon said, before I shuffle off this mortal coil, I aspire to look a man straight in the eye and say, I'm not responding to your maleness. No other words or explanation will be given. Just me saying the line and walking away like a badass.
Do it to some like ticket taker, like asking for your fare, getting on the bus. I'm not responding to your maleness.
Anybody, really.
Or just like a cop trying to stop you.
Just pick a day, and that'll be your response to any guy who speaks to you about anything. Like, you're trying to, like, just check out at the grocery store.
Or girl.
Like, or girl, even. That would be fucking hilarious, Glazed Donut. Could you please video all this and send us a copy of it? Because I think that would be fucking hilarious.
Before we shuffle off of our mortal coils.
It could be any fucking day now, really.
Mm-hmm. With your hip replacement.
I'm not having a hip replacement, y'all. I won't do that until I'm 46.
Okay. From our hot take into climax, Glazed Donut also over on Patreon said, never heard of this film before now, and I think it was more interesting for me to go in cold. After Irreversible, this is my second Gaspar Noé film, and unlike Irreversible, I can see myself giving Climax another watch. Some of the long, disorienting drug scenes caused me to mentally check out, which is something that I don't like to do with foreign films because I need to pay attention. If nothing else, I will watch this film again just to look out for anything that I might have missed the first time. I will say the queerness, diversity, and dancing was beautiful, and I could have watched that all day. Same. I never went back to watch this movie because it was maybe a little too requiem-y for a dreamy in the middle parts of this movie for me. Wasn't fun. Wasn't entertaining in a good way for me at all, or in a way that made my soul glow or warm or learn something. So,
well, nothing about Gaspar Noé's films makes your soul warm.
In contrast, especially to the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, so the first part of that movie, that dance sequence, is fucking amazing.
I remember like tears streaming down your face.
Yes, because I thought it was just fucking beautiful. I loved the inclusion and just the queerness of it, you know, and I thought it was really, really, really well done. And I have gone back to watch Climax like 2 times now since we saw it in the theater, and I have enjoyed it more on each rewatch. I think that it's a really, really good movie. I think it's one of his best, and it doesn't make it any less like tragic or hard to watch, but I just appreciate what he's doing in that movie a little bit. I feel like it's easier to watch than some of his other movies. Like Irreversible to me is just hard. It's a hard watch, and not something that I would like to go back and do again, you know, but Climax at least have some moments, and maybe it's the queerness of it all. I don't know, but I really, really liked Climax, and I've liked it every time I've seen it.
Yeah. We got some questions, or at least one question. James Aumann. So what happened to chat? So I did look. Looks like they're updating it, but it's still in the app and on the web for me, at least on desktop web. But yeah, you go to the Patreon app, and that's where our chat is if you're a patron. They did make it for some people, I think, where like it has like a chat that you have to click on first. Like we could have multiple threads. We could have multiple chats that we rename into something, I guess. But for now, I think we're going to keep our main chat.
So
unless we want recommendations, maybe as a second,
yeah,
because those are getting to be quite a lot.
It is
kind of separate from the chat. So I'm wondering if we should have a separate channel in our chat just for recommendations.
I'm not a big fan of like just the user experience of it all, right?
No, it's brand new. It's brand new.
Right. So they'll work that out eventually. Yeah. But a lot of people are in there talking, and I guess, you know, we should start having a little segment here on Shooting the Flames, sort of recapping some things that happened in our Patreon chat.
Oh, look, I did it.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have a little chat recap here. Gia asked about Oddity, and I did see that in the theater with my sister. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I said in the chat that it was very good, especially if you want to be scared within an inch of your life from jump scares, which were very, very effective. It's basically an expensive, longer version of a Tales from the Crypt episode, maybe. So don't expect anything too flashy. It's a very small cast, very single location type of situation. So go in looking for some sort of like art house kind of story, and for some genuine creeps.
So I know that patron Alex also saw Oddity. I don't know if he added anything to the chat. I haven't seen it yet, and I really, really want to. It's like really high up on my horror watch list for this year, and am going to be watching it just as soon as Shudder gives me the opportunity to do so.
It's definitely on my top 10 so far for the year.
Love it. Then I definitely have to see it. Ryan King left a chat comment about watching Twisters in 4DX, and I believe the original Twister as well from that comment.
Yes, and then later on, someone saw, if not Ryan, I think Alien, Romulus in 4DX as well.
Are there any theaters in our area that do this?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I mean, I don't know that I want to have like things spat in my face while I'm watching a movie.
No,
but
I feel like there's wind and they move your chairs around.
Okay. I mean, I'd be down for that.
Especially for like a Twister or and Twisters where you're in the car.
Yeah, that'd be
perspective,
cool.
And you can feel it turning and stuff like that. So yeah.
Okay. Yes, I really, really need to experience that. But it has
apparently
to be like
it's a thing because like they were saying like our hair was tousled and and stuff like that. So
oh fuck yeah!
I want someone to tousle my lack of hair.
I could feel the wind against the dome of my head.
Nikki asked about Tarot. I did not see it, but you did. She said she liked it, except for the end ruined it. I think my sister said something similar.
In premise,
and this is the movie that was supposed to be named Horoscope.
Yeah, I wish it were. Because that would be the best thing about it. I like the ending is truly, truly awful, right? I'm there with you, Nikki, on that one. I liked the setup, and I really liked the 13 ghosts of it all, because I feel like the individual monsters represented by those tarot cards are really cool, right? But the rest of the movie, plot wise, was not great for me. I took a look at my rankings last night, because I just watched something on YouTube that I was putting onto my 2024 horror rankings, and Tarot is, I think it's it's in next to last place. Because that stupid movie about the Irish song is last.
It'd be more fun if it was horoscope, if it was actually based on astrology and not tarot, right?
Yeah.
Oh, like, you get the monster version of like Sagittarius and shit like that, you know?
Oh, fuck yeah. Like some killer scales
like
for
the
Libra.
mutated twins for whatever, that Gemini. Yeah, shit like that.
We're writing it now. Thank God they didn't use that title, so now we can.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
It'll be a 12-part movie now.
It'll be a 12-minute movie.
It'll be a Mike Flanagan miniseries.
So many monologues.
Ryan, in his pilgrimage to Tokyo, found a Japanese copy of Dante's Peak, and the fucking cover looks great.
It really did. Yeah. It was a really cool photo. And did he buy it? I can't remember if he said that in the chat or not.
I saw it in his hands.
I hope so. I hope he would have bought that. Also, I mean, so fortuitous on this trip to Tokyo that we're talking about The Grudge while you're flying there, and then you get a Dante's Peak.
Also, what shopkeep has that? And I'd like to know what store to walk into, because I will be in Tokyo in like 2 weeks.
Ryan, maybe you need to send some DMs to us about some things that you did in Tokyo, so Chris can visit and then make me a list for when I visit Tokyo, because Lord knows I want to go. Gia asked about Cuckoo in the chat.
Another Overlook film for us. So you can go back to our Overlook episode this year on that. And I believe it's now being released or has released. And we liked it. I don't think it's reached my top 10, or it's kind of slowly worming its way out of my top 10.
It's really close to mine. It's sort of like middle. At this point, I think I've logged like 20 or 21 movies for 2024. And Cuckoo's kind of squarely in the middle.
There's some really cool horror elements to that, and I love the idea behind it. And of course, one of our favorite Scream Kings is in it with Dan Stevens.
Dreamy.
But other than that, very smart, but somehow middle of the road in execution film for us, I think.
The casting is great.
Yeah.
And I feel like the monster is kind of like batshit, and the plot's kind of batshit, and that makes it fun. I think that's what saves the movie, really. So I would definitely recommend Cuckoo. I would recommend going to see any of these like smaller horror movies in the theater. And like, honestly, between like Cuckoo and Oddity and stuff like that, like it's been a good year for small horror in the theater. And that makes me really happy.
For real. With Oddity, and like there's a couple of other things like just coming up, Alex is recommending Strange Darling, which I had never heard of.
Yeah.
Until he mentioned it.
So Strange Darling, like, I don't know where the buzz came from, but like everybody on horror social media has sort of been talking about it, and its Rotten Tomato score is like really, really high. The people coming out of these screenings are saying that it's just a really good movie. Alex himself said that it was really good. And like he just enjoyed that screening, and I really need to see this movie.
It's like a serial killer-esque thing.
Yeah, but with some sort of twist,
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I'm all about that.
Speaking of a twist, I also found and shared the new poster for Rosemary's Baby prequel, Apartment 7A, which is very memorable to the original Rosemary's Baby poster and is definitely worth a look. And there's some homage to some of the things that happen in Rosemary's Baby, or alluded to have happened before Rosemary's Baby started. So all there on the poster. It's a great poster design, even though I believe it's going to be a streaming release.
Yes. So this is going to be on Peacock, I believe. And we talked about this movie in our year-end episode last year, when we always like kind of look forward to things that are coming out, because Rosemary's Baby, excellent movie. One of my favorites, something that we deep dove into like our first year. And I really want to see this prequel. I have some high hopes for it.
Well, quality isn't necessarily indicative of streaming or not. Sometimes that's just the way things roll out these days, I guess. And, like they were going to do Alien Romulus as a streaming release.
I feel like platform these days doesn't really matter. Because there are some excellent movies that just come out on Shudder or just now come out on like these other streaming platforms.
That box office is a form of marketing, and they lose that.
But I feel like you can very easily reach a lot more people these days by having a streaming service. Like word of mouth happens, and like Strange Darling isn't playing everywhere, but if it were on streaming right now with the kind of buzz that it's gotten,
I feel like the future is like the 2 week to a month theater release and then segue. But when it doesn't do well in the theater, they segue much, much quicker to streaming. So it's a win-win for everybody, really. Next up, James is kicking himself for seeing Borderlands.
I mean, speaking of things that probably should have gone straight to streaming, right? I feel like we talked about Borderlands as
the trailer was great.
Yeah, and the
cast looks amazing.
And then all of a sudden,
Eli Roth is a good director.
And I know all of these things are very true. He's just coming off of Thanksgiving, which made our top 10 last year. And then all of a sudden,
he directed after he directed this, right? So it's weird.
So Borderlands comes out and has like, I don't know, like a single digit Rotten Tomato score and some shit.
Yeah, and I was just like, it's just astronomically terrible.
I was not expecting that at all.
And now I'm just curious. And I know that everyone that goes and sees it out of curiosity is kicking themselves because it's just that bad. So maybe I'll just try and resist.
So I can report that patron Alex also saw this movie in the theater, and he didn't give it a very high rating on Letterboxd, but it wasn't like abysmal either. I think he said it was watchable, at least.
Watchable.
So
yeah. Okay, well, that's good. I guess speaking of watchable, we can segue into our Romulus discussion because everyone and their dog is asking us what we think of that because of our long storied history of deep diving into the Alien franchise.
That's right.
Right. And we did try to relegate, after we did Alien and Aliens and Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection deep dives, we relegated Prometheus and Covenant to hot takes. And then we decided after those rewatches that actually we really enjoyed these, and we deep dove them the next year. Right. And I'm glad we did. And we kind of experienced the same thing, or at least I did, watching Alien Romulus, which is going in with the baggage of a franchise I love, and then getting kind of, all this nostalgia fan service really throat punched at me from this movie in a variety of ways that I did not expect. Mm-hmm. Right. And people keep mentioning the big cameo. That's not part of it for me. It's other things. Right. And so I had to watch it again because, other people, my partner and my sister wanted to see it. And so my husband. And so we went, and I enjoyed it much, much better on my second because it's like, hey, this fan service is happening. I'm just going to let it service me. And boy, howdy, was I serviced. And I enjoyed it much, much more for all the new, interesting things it tried to do, as well as for its economic storytelling, fast pace, and to me, a brilliant ending, which I enjoyed because of things. But I think a lot of people, it's very contentious at the end, what it did. So you'll just have to watch it. But I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars in the end. The first time I watched it, I gave it like 3.5.
And so did I. And I've only seen it the one time. And I really do want to see it again for lots of reasons.
I was also able to enjoy it more for its acting and its photography more in the second time. So definitely recommend seeing it again.
I went into Romulus with kind of low expectations because I learned something from watching Prometheus and Covenant. And I was just like, you need to just not expect the movies that you love from a franchise. Sometimes just let it continue.
Yeah, you went in expecting it to want to do new things, go in new directions. So you like carved out a space of your heart for it. But nope. It stabbed you in a different direction from this. Yeah.
And it took me years to be able to appreciate those movies. And so like I went into Romulus like, okay, I'm not expecting them to like reinvent the wheel or whatever. It's just going to be a movie as part of a franchise. And like the fan service was a lot.
Yeah.
Like there's moments of dialogue that I won't spoil for those who have not seen the
really
movie.
Be cut before it goes to Blu-ray, in my opinion.
And I was just like, that was like the lowest part of that movie for me. And I was like, stop it. Just stop it. So here's the thing. I went into Prometheus wanting fan service. I wanted to be serviced. I went into Romulus not wanting that. I was like, now I know what I don't want from a continuation of the franchise. And that's what I got.
Because so if we had gotten Romulus before our hate, but as we were shitting on Prometheus and Covenant.
Yep.
And then after we rewatched those and kind of fell in love with them for the first time, we were like, you know what? I really want to see the end of this arc. I really want to see what happens to David. It ends on kind of a cliffhanger. And then we didn't get that. And it's like the movie we would have asked for instead of Prometheus and Covenant.
This is fucking ironic.
It's like they're on a 10-year lag or something. And it's like, okay, I guess we'll get Fassbender de-aged digitally, finishing that as Ridley Scott's final swan song movie.
Which is fine. I would love to see that too, and Romulus was not a bad movie.
I'm hoping that happens because right now it's looking like it will never happen.
Probably not. But I will totally watch Romulus again. I want to, in fact, because there was a lot of distraction going on for the first part of that movie while we were watching it.
Right. There was also that.
And so it's really not even a question of me not liking the movie for what was presented to me as more of an environmental thing. But like, I think it's a good movie. I think that people should go and watch it. I think that Fede Alvarez has a very particular kind of voice in horror, and he brought that to Alien, and I'm down for it. You know, I feel like the performances were great.
Highly recommend you watching it again.
Oh, I'm going to 100%. So,
all right, we might do a watch party when I get it on 4K.
Fuck yeah.
Mm-hmm. Don't you know? And we have 6 fucking voicemails because of our little technical snafu.
Let's do it.
First up from Bennett.
Hey, Tired Queens, it's Bennett calling. I've been listening to your disaster movie podcast or episodes this month here and enjoying those there. But I wanted to comment on something that I know that you guys have mentioned or questioned a couple of times with regards to popular disaster movies and the mid-'90s, specifically Twister and Independence Day, losing the Oscar for Best Sound to The English Patient, and wondering how that happened, other than the Harvey Weinstein of it all, which is probably, to be honest, that's probably a big part of it. But I have another theory on why that may have happened there, or it's probably the best explanation I can think of. Well, the English, as you may have remembered, The English Patient was like the big Oscar winner that year. That was actually the first year I tuned into the Oscars from beginning to end, and I just remember just raking up everything that time there. But 2 of the awards that it won that year were not just for Best Sound, but also Best Film Editing, and both of those, sound specifically, I know was involved a name that might ring a bell for you guys. It was a veteran film editor and sound designer, Walter Murch. You might remember him from his one directorial effort, that being Return to Oz, which I know you guys had covered, I think, last year or so. Still haven't seen that one, but I know that he was involved in that. But either way, if you're not familiar with his filmography, I know he had done a lot of work with Francis Ford Coppola back in the 70s, especially on the Godfather films and on Apocalypse Now. I don't know if he had won any Oscars before 96 or not. I haven't looked that back there, but my guess is that he was just considered a veteran in both of those categories, and I have a feeling that was just a year that the Academy just decided, okay, this is the year to honor this guy. You know, whether or not it was really the best movie in that category or not, I have a feeling it was just one of those situations where the Academy decided it's this guy's time, like we owe him an Oscar or 2 there. That's the best thing I can think of there, but just thought I'd share that since I know that's come up a couple of times in your episodes this week, or this month, excuse me. Anyway, happy hunting. Bye.
Yeah, I feel like there's always politics in the awards, unfortunately, and sometimes fortunately, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are some times that people finally get their due, you know. But I like it when someone who finally deserves an Oscar is nominated for something that they actually deserve it for too, you know. And so it's fine. I'm not losing any sleep over The English Patient winning any awards. It's a good movie, but like comparatively, come on now. Whether it's that man's time or not, Twister should have won that award.
It's true. Let's hear what Scrotus has to say.
Ooh.
Hey, Chris and Robert. Long time no talk. I'm going to leave 2 messages, but I figured mainly because I got 2 things to talk about. I just did a long road trip. This is a Scrotus, by the way, and listened to one of your old, like, creepy love song podcasts that you did a while back. And one thing I wanted to add to it, there's an old Devo song off of, I think, their 1982 album, Oh No, It's Devo. And it's a song that they wrote, but really the lyrics are a poem of John Hinckley's to Jodie Foster, and it's called I Desire. And I challenge you to give it a listen and tell me what you think. It's pretty damn creepy, especially when you know the context. Anyway, that's all I got for this one. Sweet dreams.
What was the drama that happened with that? Wasn't there a death involved or something?
With that song?
No, with that guy, the stalker of Jodie Foster.
No, John Hinckley's the guy who tried to shoot President Reagan.
Oh.
And he was obsessed with Jodie Foster.
Okay. I mixed up my... Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, she also had a stalker. That's completely different. Poor Jodie Foster and her quest to be a lesbian. But, so, Scrotus, first of all, may I say, I've never heard you sound so, like, quiet and not bombastic. Are you okay? Secondly... I have been wanting to do another creepy love song episode, and that Devo song.
You've been threatening to for years.
That Devo song may or may not be one of my choices for the next top 10. Okay. So just, hold on and you'll get a whole conversation about it. Okay.
Relax.
Frankie goes to Hollywood. I love Devo, by the way.
Yo, Flamers, this is Crotus. Like I had mentioned, I promised you another call. This one is a little bit longer. I wanted to tell you my Twister story. So way back when, I want to say it was on probably its second run of Twister. It was like, in the cheap seats, cheap theaters. I went on a cruise, and this cruise is really awful. It was a small, like comparison to the, cruise lines today, it would be like a dinghy for one of those big cruise ships. And in fact, it actually sank off the coast of Virginia a few years ago. And I noticed the name, and it's a small cruise. It's called the Dolphin. And you can actually look it up. It sank when they were trying to go back and fix it. Anyway, it needed to sink. So I was on that cruise with my then girlfriend, and just so happens one of the things we could do was go see a movie because the weather was really terrible outside. And obviously because it's a smaller boat, we felt the waves and the storm more than a normal cruise line would. And we were sitting in the theater, and you can only imagine it was like 4D because Twister was going and the boat was rocking while Twister was playing to the point where half the crowd like got up and left because they were going to puke, to include my girlfriend at the time. And it made for a great experience, minus, the puking. But I thought that was a pretty interesting story. That was my Twister moment. That was the first time I'd ever seen it too. So it made it extra cool, even though a lot of people didn't think so. Anyway, sweet dreams, guys. Love your podcast always. Peace.
Well, now I can't decide if I want to go see a traditional 4DX theater or like try to watch this on a cruise ship. Honestly, I don't know.
A 40X on a cruise ship during a storm.
My God.
It's the only way.
That is the only way. I kind of really want to watch Twister again in the theater, and
maybe it should be like the Poseidon or whatever adventure.
I feel like cruise ships should not be showing the Poseidon adventure. I think just
it's exactly the place to show it.
That's the general rule. We don't want to create pandemonium.
How many plane crash movies I see on planes? Come on.
Well, you chose those.
It's the fucking 9/11 movies on the goddamn plane.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's really cool though. I like that. I would do that.
It's hat on a hat. Next up, we've got Nicole.
Hi, Chris and Robert. It's Nicole, long time no talk. I just finished listening to your most recent Shooting the Flames episode, and I loved your commentary on rewatching horror as a mom. And I recently deep dived into rewatching The Exorcist and realized the conversation that I had with my son's pediatrician about his ADHD medication is pretty much like word for word the conversation that Chris McNeil has when they're talking about stimulants for Reagan and what it does to the body and all of that stuff. And it was pretty terrifying and jarring to rewatch it through the perspective of like, what if Reagan is just my little ADHD monster? And it does bring lots of new things to light. So keep doing what you do, and have a great day.
Thank you for that, Nicole. And we had a conversation kind of back and forth for Shooting the Flames to Shooting the Flames to Shooting the Flames years ago about this sort of thing where mothers actually came in and told us, like, it's not just seeing the perspective, like you, that's a whole nother part of it. probably an equal part, is having that perspective as a parent and a mother, especially, but also those hormones that are just preventing you as kind of like that fight or flight, protective thing that's just always ready just to go off like without a hitch, whenever you are pregnant and then have your children. And it sometimes takes women years to be able to watch horror movies before, even if they were horror aficionados before. So I don't think it's anything to be ashamed of. And it seems like it should really be something that's maybe studied more, or talked about more, or expected more. So it's just really fascinating to me.
I agree. I really feel like that's a really good conversation to have about horror, because everyone has a response to horror, right? And a lot of times it comes from your own life experiences. And I'm not a parent, obviously, so I can't watch anything through that lens. But I know parents, and when they talk about seeing things happen to children on screen, they have a very like kind of visceral reaction to it, and they talk about it in such a way. This is something that I would love to have like longer conversations about, and have people like either come on the show or leave us messages and talk about, because I think it's just kind of fascinating from that like sociological perspective. And especially like when you have a child that needs to be diagnosed with something and you're trying to find a cure or solution to the problem, like was happening in The Exorcist, like you just look back at the movies that you've seen and you can sort of like just find that commonality between watching something that you've loved and how it affected you and how it can play out into your real life. Like it's truly like kind of frightening. So
I wonder if like stuff like with babies, especially like when they're younger, like in Ghostbusters, even something as innocent-ish as that, I guess Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah, it was a sequel to Ghostbusters.
And maybe even Bram Stoker's Dracula with the baby feeding to the wives.
And that was such a like a quick moment, you know, but like it's things like that can really affect people. This is why I like horror in general.
It's usually scenes like that we hear people like walking out of a theater and not like wanting to see. That's kind of surprises us and takes us back, because we just don't have that visceral psychological reaction to that.
No, we have our own. Yeah. And that's why I think horror is such a good like genre to talk about, because I feel like you can always have your own life experiences, and you have moments where you're like, no, that's enough, So thank you for the voicemail. I really think this is a neat topic, and I'm sure that we'll be talking about it again.
Yeah.
So
next up we've got Skylar.
Hey, Chris. Hey, Robert. This is actually Skylar Poole. I've been leaving a few comments and stuff on your guys' Spotify or Facebook. I just actually listened to your guys' post from last week, and I just actually heard that you guys mentioned me once again, which was awesome, by the way. I really thought it was amazing how you guys mentioned my dioramas, everything I sent you. I had not, unfortunately, received a message back. I've received the one, but I guess not the one asking permission. And that is absolutely okay with me. You guys have my permission to post the pictures on your Instagram or whatever you guys are wanting to do. And yeah, I really love listening to your guys' podcast. You guys are absolutely hysterical. Everything and all your goofy, silly comments, from Naders to touching Miss Tingle to fucking murder chickens to everything else you guys say. Some of your guys' just comments and opinions and outlooks on the movie are just amazing. It's hysterical to listen to you guys, and every other podcast does not even compare to you guys, because they just don't keep you tuned in and listening and laughing like you guys do. So keep up the amazing work. I love listening to you guys. You guys ever want to reach out, you're more than welcome. I'd love to send more pictures of my stuff. I'm doing all 3 original Alien films. So I just have the dioramas done for the first movie right now, which is what I sent you. So if you guys got any more questions, reach out and message me back. Have a good day. And as always, sweet dreams.
My God, sweet dreams, Skylar. And thank you for calling in, and thank you for all of your comments. My goodness, I'm glad that we pronounced your name right. And also, I sent a message over to my podcast co-host, who is the current czar of Instagram.
A terrible czar.
And honestly, we both are. And when we're sitting down recording, everything's like legit, but when we are in life and doing jobs and everything else, saying we have permission, telling the other one we have permission for a certain post, and the other one sees it, goes, oh, I'll do that when I get off work, and then it never happens. Yeah. So the more you tag us, now that we know that we have permission, we will share your shit on our feed, and we want to, because those dioramas are awesome.
And I don't know that if you have Instagram or not, so head over to Instagram and follow us there, because that's probably the place where people are going to see your work the most, right? Like, I know you send a lot of stuff on Facebook and all over the place, really. Like, you've been all over the last couple Shooting the Flames, and we will continue to always share your comments and everything, because that's what we like to do with our listeners. Obviously, it's a whole episode. So do all that stuff. Send us all your work. I'm always fascinated by people who create art out of horror, and because it's something that I could not do, really. Good to hear your voice too, Skylar.
Lastly, we've got a voicemail from Ashlie.
Happy anniversary, Chris and Robert. This is Ashlie, one of your longest listeners. I just wanted to tell you how much I appreciate you both and how much I love your podcast. And I go back, way back. And believe it or not, I don't know if I've ever told you this or if Nikki's ever told you this, but she and I actually know each other. And it was I that recommended your podcast to her many, many years ago. And so I just want to let you both know that I love the work you do. I hope you keep it up. Never stop. I wish I could pay you guys $1 million a year to do this so that I could feel safe that you will never stop doing this. And I also just need to say that in your last outtakes, when you made fun of the little ghost kids that leave Freddy's body and thank Alice, that is exactly the perfect way to think of how much and how deep you guys go and how much I love you both. All right. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Well, goodbye now. Goodbye. Ashlie, I know that you were very excited when we started our travel through the Elm Street franchise, because I know you're a super fan.
Let's rewind just a second. I feel like we knew this, but did she say that she's the OG person that actually got Nikki?
I don't think I did know that.
Is that what she said?
Yeah, she recommended this podcast to Nikki.
Well, I mean, Nikki is goddess of the film flamers. And so if that's true, then Ashlie is the eldritch god
of this. Oh my goodness. I did not know this piece of information. Nikki's been on our show.
The Before Times goddess.
The Before Times. That is an amazing piece of information. So thank you for that voicemail. That was truly touching. I think I started to tear up a little bit, actually. I don't think we're going anywhere. So we'll take $1 million, but honestly, Chris and I like to do this. I feel like in our lives, there's so much other things going on, and doing a podcast kind of gives us a break from all of that. So, unless we decide to never speak to each other again, which I don't think is going to happen, there's going to be a podcast for quite some time.
That's true.
So no fears. And thank you for recommending our podcast to other people. And we're glad that you and Nikki are listeners.
Yeah.
There's some new patrons.
We do. And we have to start with Marissa E, because we missed her last month. We're just a fucking mess.
We dropped the ball in August, apparently.
Yes.
We're just celebrating the anniversary all month long. And then
I guess we're half in the bag the entire fucking.
I'm having the bag now.
Okay.
Marissa E, thank you for joining Patreon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Okay. Next, we got Lisa Soderberg. And I believe she is from Sweden.
Really?
Norway? Sweden?
Any relation to Steven?
No, I wouldn't think so, Robert.
And Merrill Roseberry also joined.
I think it's just Roseberry.
Oh, Merrill Roseberry also joined. So thank you all for joining the Patreon family. We hope you enjoy all the bonus content that you have out there. Join the chat, which is exploding. But we also have to shout out our patrons at the Film Flamer tier or higher on Patreon.
And starting with the Infernos, that is Call Me Lestat.
And Penelope.
And with our Flamers, that's Anthony,
Ashlie,
Benjamin,
CenobiteBetty,
GlazedDonut,
Jessica,
Lisa,
Nikki,
Random Dude,
Rosie Red Leader,
Sinistero,
Wallstritch,
and William Skinner.
But especially
Scrotus.
Thanks for those voicemails, Scrotus.
And Nicole. And really everyone, honestly. It's
all you guys.
A lot, yeah. Skylar. Oh.
Horror news.
Well, we have some news for you guys. Like we said earlier, right around the spooky season, it seems like no one's talking about what's coming up, but mostly what's happening now. But we do have a couple news items. So first up, Jack Black and Paul Rudd are in talks to star in an Anaconda reboot.
It sounds like Jack Black and Paul Rudd would do better in a Tremors reboot.
Oh my God, I didn't even think about that, but agreed.
Because it's going to be that anyway with those two actors.
For sure. I mean, this is what's going to happen. I don't know. Like Anaconda, first of all, is a really fun movie with Jennifer Lopez, you know?
My Anaconda don't.
When they talk about something like this. So they're going to take that comical for the wrong reasons horror movie and turn it into an actual comedy. Like, I don't know. I guess I would have to see like what it is, you know, the final product. But my goodness, I don't want to see a comedy about a giant snake. Or do I?
I don't know. We'll just have to see. Next up, we've got Poltergeist, as apparently a TV series from Amazon MGM Studios, has scared up some showrunners.
That's right. So I feel like people have been talking about bringing the Poltergeist franchise to the small screen.
I feel like we've talked about this a couple times.
Yeah. And so they're finally making some sort of headway. There's not a whole lot said about what that series is going to be like, right? They just found some people to kind of like run it. And I don't really know.
There was a TV show back in the day that had nothing to do with the franchise.
The Legacy.
Yeah. The Legacy, which was basically just a Monster of the Week.
Yep.
Anthology series with the same cast wrap around like an X-Files team or something, you know? So it'd be interesting to see if this is going to be like Poltergeist, like the Carol Ann story that's broken up into a miniseries, or what? I don't know.
It is sort of based upon that particular Poltergeist IP, right?
Yes.
So the Spielberg Hooper version of things. But I don't know. Like, I hope to God they don't like just retread everything out. We already had a remake of it. And I would like to see a show just about Tangina.
Hell yeah. Just a show named Tangina.
That's right.
Like a house cleaning channel on the
Home and Garden channel.
Home and Garden channel.
This house is clean. She's got her fucking tagline. I mean, my God. Do it. And finally, Universal Pictures, The Creature from the Black Lagoon is being remade, and from James Wan.
Right. So he's either signed or he is almost signing to direct. Right. And so this is yet another attempt by Universal Pictures to use their vast catalog of movie monsters, not to try a dark universe, but to have a bunch of standalones at this point.
And I think that's probably wise because like we talked about in last month's Shooting the Flames, or at least over the summertime, Universal is creating yet another new park in their Orlando like theme park area. And one of those sections of that new park is going to be like the dark universe or the classic Universal monster movies. They have a whole ride that's being created that looks really fucking cool. And I feel like to draw up some interest in this and to create some fanfare, they're really going to be going after some of these original properties that Universal has. It's kind of like the birth of horror movies. And I cannot wait to go to that theme park for sure.
Yeah. And speaking of the birth of horror movies, we're going to be covering a lot of that in October.
I'm super looking forward to that too. I pulled up our docket and I was just like, yes, I am looking forward to all of that. What are we doing?
We are going to the beginning.
The beginning times?
The beginning times. We are covering Nosferatu. And we're probably going to have a top 10 of like pre-1950s, pre-code horror, starting in the German Expressionism area.
Yep.
With maybe even the cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
I think that's also a deep dive scan.
Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So look forward to that.
And Creature from the Black Lagoon is my favorite of the Universal monster movies. I really, really like it. I like
never seen it
about it. Really? It's an amazing watch. Like, it's just so pretty. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Coming soon.
First up, we've got Never Let Go. This is another movie directed by Alexander Aja, but this time it stars Halle Berry, Oscar winner from Monsters Ball. And it's going to be in theaters on September 7th. And this is a trailer that is kind of alluding that there are monsters in our midst in some sort of post-apocalyptic, or at least way out in the country kind of situation, where this family, this mother and these two sons, are starving and have to be tethered via a rope to their house that they can never let go of, Jack, or they will be ceased to be. They'll be ex people.
Something will certainly happen should they let go.
And I thought maybe they were alluding to some sort of thing in the mom's mind, just like kind of like the others. And I feel like that's still kind of a possibility. where
With
there's going to be
Asha?
a twist, but
Yeah.
Asha's not really a twisty kind of, well, actually he is.
Yeah.
He's kind of a twisty kind of guy. I don't know how I feel about Alexander Aja. I never do. I'm not his biggest fan.
I am.
But it looks like an interesting premise, and I've heard early reviews are fairly positive, although I've seen some mixed. And it apparently mixes religion into the mix, which is not in the trailer, for a supernatural religious thriller horror.
That is
may or may
happening a
not
lot
be
this year.
Supernatural, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, we've already had, like, Immaculate and the first Omen. And, like, right around the same time that Never Let Go comes out, we have The Front Room coming, which certainly has to do with religion.
Mm-hmm.
And Brandy's in that. So, like, I like Alexandre Aja. I think his movies are really good. I think that he's kind of all over the place as a director, though, which is good. I think the movies that he's made as of late seem really grown up. And this seems like a pretty grown-up kind of horror movie. And I'm down for it. However, I feel like no one will ever forget the title of this movie because it is said about 1,000 gobbledygillion times during it. Never let go. Never let go of that rope. But next up, we have a movie called The Red, starring Michael Biehn, which is coming to theaters on Halloween proper. And this is an Australian movie about one of the most dangerous things in Australia, a zombie kangaroo.
Right. I almost wish we hadn't divulged that because this trailer is playing it, as serious as a car accident until the roof shows up.
Yeah, it really gives you like a deep fake a little bit, like there's something going on. It could be a werewolf.
And Michael Biehn, is acting like serious as a car accident. And of course, this is the actor from Terminator and Aliens.
Mm-hmm. And he looks kind of like the crazy hillbilly in this, but
who knows?
Yeah,
it looks great.
I love a good like animal horror movie. I mean, Lamageddon, Crawl.
Well, that was my favorite Alexander Aja movie.
It's a really good one, and I also like a movie that can be goofy but takes itself kind of seriously. Those are the best kind of like B movies. And I don't know, A Killer Kangaroo, I'm fucking down for that.
Same.
Sign me up.
That's what I need. Speaking of what I need, Y2K is coming out, and this is by A24, and this is interestingly, it's directed by Kyle Mooney of SNL fame.
Mm-hmm.
I may be in a directorial debut, I'm not sure. And this stars Rachel Zegler and Jaden Martell of Stranger Things fame, and then Alicia Silverstone, of course, from the 90s. And this is in theaters December 6th. And it starts off kind of like a rom-com, very feeling, Y2K, year 2000, right? And of course, all of us that lived through that, we know what the scare was at the time, which was, like none of the clocks understand what, moving out of the 20th century is, and everything's going to break down. Our technology is all based on this bullshit. And of course, nothing really happened. But this is like a what if something did happen. And then about halfway through the trailer, it segues very hard into a horror movie, and it's using like Chumbawamba, like 1990s and 2000s music, and I am here for it, and it looks amazing, and I have to see this one in the theater.
This movie is made for us. I mean, it is. It has to be, because I mean, like,
I was out at a party drinking, like wearing the clothes that these people are wearing.
100%.
Like, yeah,
I was like 20 years old. Yeah, I like. Everything about this movie looks incredibly fun. Yeah. Like, I love the hard segue into horror where like the machines are kind of like maximum overdriving everything and coming after people. But even more hardcore than that, they talk about like a Tamagotchi trying to kill people. And I was like,
the fake like lawnmower man or whatever fucking like 3D animated face on the TV. That's like PS1 graphics.
And the fucking VCR, like
you're fucked.
Spitting a goddamn VHS at someone. I mean, it's so funny. Yeah. Like, I am totally down for this movie. I have to go see this. This is the perfect thing to like ring in the new year, honestly.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that there's some nostalgia for that period of time. Because honestly, like, do you remember like how frightened everybody was about this? Like stockpiling water and shit?
Yeah.
I know. That was just like, whatever, it's going to be fine. And it was. Mm-hmm. Planes did not fall from the sky. But in this movie, we could see that.
Well, guys, I think that about wraps up this Shooting the Flames episode. Tell us what you thought of all the comments and questions. And, of course, keep leaving them for us.
That's right. You can do that on social media at The Film Flamers on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, all the places.
You can email us at tiredqueens@filmflamers.com or call our hotline at 972-666-7733. Are you a long listener? Are you a hard listener?
Long time. Don't talk.
Are you old and flaccid like us?
Please, please, please.
Get a hip replacement?
Please, please, please. Find hornier music, apparently. We have some content coming out for you in September, obviously. We are going to be concluding our conversation on the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. So we're going to be talking about Wes Craven's New Nightmare here on the main feed. And for all of our patrons, we're doing a bonus episode talking about Freddy vs. Jason.
That's right. Just one deep dive this month. We're taking a little time. Hiatus is stupid and overrated. So that's not what we're doing. We're just slowing down a little bit. Only for a big speed up in October.
That's right. So go over to patreon.com/thefilmflamers, join the family, get that bonus episode on Freddy vs. Jason, and then come back in October for all of our content, guys.
Meanwhile, join the conversation that's like hopping over there.
That's right. Well, Chris.
Well, Robert.
I think it's time for me to head off and actually let go and have some
sweet dreams.
Oh God.
Sweet dreams. Over 6 years of doing that 4 times a month. We can't get it right.
I was just doubting that joke that I made. I was just like, are they going to remember that we just talked about a movie called Never Let Go?
Yes.
I hope so.
Well, they'll remember.
They will. Sorry, I doubted y'all. Sweet dreams.